Hey guys, thanks for coming back for another video. And we got a bit of a late night video going on. I'm working third shift tomorrow, so I'm staying up late tonight, and what better way to stay up than work on the Jeep. In today's video, I'm going to go over installing the Savvy skid plate for my TJ. It's all aluminum. It can be used with a body lift or without a body lift. With a body lift, it can be raised up to gain like an extra 1 inch of clearance from the rear. And yeah, we'll just go ahead and dive into that. Alright, so just take a quick look at the skid plate. It is all aluminum. It looks really good. It's nice and thick. It's sturdy, but it's not like steel. It'll nick up easier when you hit rocks and things, but it'll still protect the actual gas tank, so I'm not worried about that. It's a lot lighter though, which is nice. I think it's only a couple pounds heavier than the stock skid, where a big steel one would add quite a bit of weight to the rear. So yeah, it looks pretty good. It's got some decent welds on it. I've seen better, but I probably couldn't do better, so I'm not too upset about that. These are all the pieces. It's got the hardware with it. So the first thing you're going to want to do is add the bracket on here, and that's this guy, which allows you to adjust the height up or down if you have a body lift or not. So I don't have a body lift, so I'm going to put it on the lower hanging setting. And yeah, so I'll just go ahead and attach this. It's like 6 or 8 bolts that I got to put in, and then I'll show you how it's oriented. You don't need to watch me do the bolts, but I can show you so you got a nice visual representation of how it all goes together. Okay, here we are with the skid plate all assembled. I have not tightened the bolts yet, but I'm going to use a torque wrench, and it says to tighten them to 18 foot-pounds. So that's going to be easy enough. But what I want to show you is how the bracket lines up. It goes on the inside. The carriage bolts all start from the inside facing to the outside, so the nut will be on the outside. Same way with the front here. And then the straps go in the middle, in between these two holes up here on both sides on the rear. And then the front just lines up with these. So that one happens to be right up the middle, and then that one's over on the end. One other nice thing to mention about this skid plate, other than seeming pretty good quality, is they give you tons of stuff with it. They actually included 6 extra carriage bolts and nuts to replace the stock carriage bolts on the cross member, and they gave you even the little lock nuts or locking washers, however you want to refer to these, to hold the carriage bolts on there while you're tightening the bolt. They included these little plastic clips to stick your wheel well back up after you pull that down. I mean, they gave you everything. They even included a couple zip ties. So I don't know, just a nice kit. They definitely, I mean, it's expensive too. I think I paid like $450 for this, or $450 or $550, I can't remember. It's all a painful spending blur at this point, but it comes with everything you need, and it replaces kind of that stock strap system with these, and they'll bend over together, and then they'll cinch these two together. So I'm going to go ahead and tighten these to 18 foot-pounds of torque, and then I'm going to insert the gas tank, which another thing I've heard about this is the gas tank going in is very, very snug, so you kind of have to wiggle it back and forth, put a lot of pressure on it. Some people say they stood on it to get it in there, so we'll see how it goes. Hopefully it's not too bad, but obviously you don't want it loose in there. You don't want the gas tank bouncing around inside. But let's go ahead and get this tightened. Okay, so this is like the third time for me, but I'll edit it for you guys so you don't go through the same struggle. But figuring out the length of these straps was kind of a pain. There's no note in the book. At first I had them both on the longest length, so the bottom hole on the strap, so they were as long as possible. and they were too long, and there's too much slack when you tighten them down. So it seemed like I'd have enough to then put them on the top hole on the strap, which makes them as short as possible. So I did that for all of them, and then they were just about, I don't know, a quarter of an inch too short. So that was very obnoxious. So I pulled the tank out again, and I've now left the back straps on the shorter length and the front straps on the longer length, and that should be enough to do it. Hopefully, we'll see. But most likely, this should give me that little extra quarter of an inch I needed, and now I will again stick the tank back in. I'll do some editing magic and use one of the earlier times I did it. Alright, here we go. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and put the tank in real quick for the second time. Alright. So the next thing you're going to need to do is, in your straps, I used a pair of needle nose pliers and just stuck them in there and kind of spread open that opening some more. And you're going to have 4 of these little guys. 2 of them are smooth inside like this, and then 2 of them, I can do this with one hand, 2 of them are threaded inside like this one. So you're gonna want, like I have here, 1 threaded one and 1 unthreaded one. So you spread it apart so you can slide these in, and make sure, like I said, you have 1 threaded and 1 unthreaded in a line on each one. And then you're gonna take one of your bolts. You've got 2 different sizes, so a longer and a shorter one, whichever one works for you, and you will feed it through the unthreaded one first, and then you will pull down the threaded one and you will screw it in there, and it'll clamp down nice and tight. Obviously I can't do that with one hand. You'll want to go under your lines so you don't crush anything. Same thing with this, you'll want this above so you can just follow that contour in your tank. So go ahead and tighten those down, and I'll do the same. Alright, well, the tank is in the skid plate now, so that's progress. So the correct combination that I found that worked was leaving the front on the extended section where the strap is longer, and then leaving the back on the shorter section, and then using the longer bolt that they gave you. And I don't know, it would have been nice to have some kind of cheat code in their instructions that they provide, but here we are. I figured it out. So hopefully you guys watch this and you won't have to do this 3.5 times to get the correct combination of things. I had dropped my tank once before too, which will be another video if you guys need to know how to actually drop the tank. But just a quick tip while I'm here, I was having issues with it filling. It kept tripping the gas pump nozzle and would stop, and even using a gas can, it would fill quicker, a little better, but then it would still burp out some. And I think the issue was this line here, which comes down here and goes all the way over here. On mine, it's still a little crushed, but it was really crushed right here. Like 3 of these were, and I don't know if they just got pressed up against the top of the like top of the Jeep, the floorboard up there, or what, but I kind of popped them out of that little clip and used some channel locks and squished them back as close to round as I could get them. They're kind of like a hard plastic line, so it'll never be perfect, but there seems to be plenty of opening for that breather to work now. But I think that was the issue. I'll know if it fixed it or not once I put this tank back up in there. But yeah, so the next step will be putting the tank in. I don't think I'm doing that tonight. It is currently like 1:30 in the morning, so I will probably do that tomorrow afternoon. I will see you guys then. Alright, it's the next day. Got some daylight now and I can open the garage door. So, a couple things I want to go over real quick is that the wiring clip no longer has the actual spot it slides onto like it does on the stock plate, but they gave you this little cutout where it fits in and you just got to zip tie it there. That's why they include a zip tie. So then also the breather hose for the differential, I just zip tied up here. It was wedged in here and it wasn't zip tied before, but that'll just help keep it up there. No big deal. And then the next thing is I've got this sitting on a block of wood on my floor jack. The block of wood just kind of helps spread it out and balance it a little better. So the next step is I'm going to push it back under the Jeep, watch for all my lines, make sure I'm not going to crack or break anything, and just kind of angle it back up in there and slowly jack it up, line the bolts up, and put it back together. Not a whole lot to that, but the big thing is the filler spout here is kind of a pain because you have to feed it up kind of through the frame, and then that side you have to feed that up through the frame. So you just got to go slow, kind of force some things through their spots, but just be careful not to break anything. Okay, so that was kind of a pain to do because the reason I'm replacing this is I was in Moab, Utah, and I beat my rear skid up on my gas tank and cracked my gas tank, so I had to replace the gas tank and I wanted to upgrade the skid. Well, it kind of bent up all the little supports in there, so I kind of bent them back, you know, as straight as you can really get them with a wrench. And everything's just a little out of alignment, so it's kind of a pain to get the bolt holes to line up, but that's no fault of the skid. That's just my Jeep being kind of abused. So it's on there now. I haven't tightened all the bolts yet. Before you tighten everything down, you want to go up in here on the passenger side and reconnect those two clips. You've got the one small hose that you connect, and then the big one, let me let the camera adjust, you got the big one that clips in all the way up there. So that's what you have on this side. And then this side, you have all these, and they're a little different sizes, so if you know they're not kind of trained to go where they should be going. I'm gonna put this one under this. So even if they weren't pretty much trained where they need to go, these hoses and lines are different sizes, so they'll only fit on the right one. So you got, what is it, 1, 2, 3 that you need to do here. You have your wiring harness that you need to clip in right there, and then your breather hose that needs to go back on the axle shaft down here. And that's pretty much it. So I'm going to clip that all together real quick, and then you'll also need to make sure you screw back in those 4 screws for your filler. And yeah, that'll pretty much be it for the gas tank. So let me go ahead and tighten everything down and we'll go from there. Alright, I got the skid on, everything's all attached. I think that's pretty much going to wrap it up for this video. It looks great. I really like that look. It seems smooth. I think maybe it's a little higher. I don't know, it's kind of hard to tell. It just looks more rounded. But yeah, so now I just got to fill my tank with my gas can that I always keep with me. It's nice to have 5 gallons of gas wherever you go. So yeah, I just got to fill up the tank, and hopefully it'll fill correctly this time. I believe the issue was that breather tube was a little crushed, so hopefully this will take care of all my issues. But yeah, I'm pretty happy with this Savvy skid. The only real issues I had with it, the instructions could have been a little better, but they weren't terrible. And The only other issue was just because of my Jeep itself, not the skid. So yeah, now I just have to put my new fuel injectors in, but that's a separate video. So I appreciate it, guys. Please like and subscribe if you enjoyed the content, or if you got a TJ, because I'm not anywhere close to done with this thing. I've still got axle swaps, I'm going to change out fenders, I'm going to do all kinds of stuff, and it's going to be a lot of TJ content. And hopefully at some point I'll actually be able to take it off-road again. I haven't been off-roading in months now, ever since my Utah trip. Just been fixing stuff or upgrading. Alright, see you on the next one.